saw this definition many, many years ago, and I believe it with all of my heart. Happiness is growth. You show me a person that's growing, I'll show you a happy person. You show me an organization that's growing, and I'll show you a happy organization. I mean, that's just the fact of life. And I thought I would take a moment and personalize this growth and just share with you my process of growth in my lifetime. If you would go back before 1974, so if you go back about 30 years ago and before that time, the best way to term my growth would be called accidental growth. And in other words, I didn't grow on purpose. I didn't even know I was supposed to grow on purpose, but I love people and I worked hard. And so there were things I learned. I kind of took it in snatches, but it was accidental type of growth. But in 1974, when I sat down with Kurt Kampmeyer in the Holiday Inn, and he asked me if I had a personal growth plan, which I didn't even know I was supposed to have one, I would take my second phase in my growth journey from accidental growth to what I would call purposeful growth. I realized that if I was going to really grow, I was going to have to grow on purpose. That it couldn't be a hit and miss deal. It certainly could not be something that just might happen to me. I was going to have to initiate and activate. Well, it was within a couple of months after saying I'm going to be purposeful in my growth, I'm going to grow on purpose, that I went to phase 3, because all of a sudden I realized that the growth that I was going to have would be personal. It would be personal growth. It would have to be me growing. And I literally made my personal growth my personal mission. And in the next few years, I began to see what happened to me as I grew as a person. I began to change. My organization began to really grow. And I went from phase 3 to personal growth to phase 4, which I would call others growth. I began to be committed to helping other people grow until it would be from not only my personal growth was my personal mission, but your personal growth became my personal mission. And that's when I began writing books, and that's when I began teaching lessons, helping other people learn this wonderful growth journey also. There's been one more phase in the growth journey for me, and that is when I turned 40. All of a sudden I realized that I was growing personally, and I was certainly teaching others and speaking at conferences, helping them. But I realized that I wasn't strategic enough with my own team. And it was at the age of 40 that the law of the inner circle, of the 21 irrefutable laws, which says those who are closest to you determine the level of your success. It was at that age that I said, I'm going to be committed to team growth. That I'm going to really count success, not what I do or what even others that I teach do, but what can the team do together? That's when I began to understand that teamwork makes the dream work. And I really became committed to what I call team growth. Now, what I'm going to say to you for the next 3 minutes is literally vital. For in your notes, you can see that I have 2 columns. I have a column for people that are what I call goal conscious, and I have a column for people that are what I call growth conscious. About 3 years ago, I was doing a round table, and I had about 15 people in the room, and they were spending all day with me. And basically in the round tables, there's a lot of give and take, a lot of Q&A. And a very successful person out of Dallas that I've known for many, many years, who's built a wonderful organization. In fact, if I gave you his name, and I will not, many of you would know about him, even though he's not in your line of work. I'll call him Joe. Joe looked at me and said, John, the last 2 years I've plateaued. He said, I can honestly say that I feel that I'm flat for the first time in many years, the last 2 years. Could you help me? Because I knew him so well, I jumped in quickly and said, yeah, I think I can, Joe. I said, let me ask you a question. Have you hit all of your goals? And he looked at me and said, yeah, John, I've hit every one of my goals. He said, the organization's bigger than I ever anticipated it to be. We are reaching more people than we've ever anticipated reaching. We're bringing in more dollars than we ever anticipated bringing. To be honest with you, I think I have reached all my goals. I said, Joe, that's the problem. You're goal conscious instead of growth conscious. What I have discovered is that people that are goal conscious plateau more often and longer than people that are growth conscious. Now, I put the two columns for teaching purposes so that I could be crystal clear on exactly what I'm talking about. Because it's not either or, and I'm certainly not saying don't have goals. I have goals, you have goals. Nothing wrong with goals. But I am saying that there is something more important than setting goals. Let me explain it by illustrating the two columns. You see, if you're goal conscious, the focus is on a destination. If I can get to this level, if I can just reach this number, if I can just have this position. Goal conscious people are almost always destination conscious, where growth conscious people focus is on the journey. They see the big picture. They understand that to be successful, it's a process and it's a journey. Look in your left-hand column. If you're goal conscious, you will motivate people. When you're goal conscious, it's very motivational. If you put a goal in front of yourself or you put a goal in front of someone else. But let me tell you something. If you're growth conscious, that will mature your people. There's a maturity in a growth conscious mindset that is not evident in a goal conscious mindset. Also, if you're goal conscious, goals are seasonal. In other words, you'll have a time or a period or a season in which you'll say, okay, I've got to get to the next level. I've got to do this. Where if you're growth conscious, growth is lifelong. Growth isn't seasonal. It's not annual. It's lifelong. It's a journey. Now, what I have discovered is if you're goal conscious, it challenges people. But if you're growth conscious, that changes people. Change occurs over the process, not in a moment or at a destination or a time or an event. One more distinction. If you're goal conscious, when the goal is reached, we plateau. But when you're growth conscious, we keep growing. In other words, if you're growth conscious, when you hit your goal, you keep on growing because the goal is just part of the journey. It's not the end. In my book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, I talk about the law of process. And the law of process says leaders develop daily, not in a day. That's what this growth conscious stuff is all about. You see, we overestimate the event and we underestimate the process. Always.